seven, four, three, two, one, zero.
Hello, hello, hello. An amazing, amazing week ahead. The 6th week of my out of comfort zone challenge, empowering you by showing you that everything is possible, even alone. You don't have to wait for anyone. It's all coming from you guys. And after, when you are already doing it, then the right people will come, just like Kenyatta came on my way, and we found so many similarities. I already did her profile check, so it's working. I know. So Kenyatta, before we go to the behavioral universe, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, absolutely. Can you hear me okay? Okay, fantastic. Let me make sure I didn't have the mute button on. So thank you. First off, Andrea, before I talk about me, I just need to talk about you for a moment and just say how amazing you are at what you pulled off in the last 6 weeks of this event. This is my first time doing an event with you. I met you at the beginning of this event. I know you did one last year, and I know that probably were some differences between how it is now, but what I've seen now, just mind blowing. So just kudos to you for just being amazing and having me be a part of this. But you're doing great things, bringing people together all over the world. And I'm just excited for being a part of it. But you are an inspiration. I will just say that. So this is pretty cool. And I'm so excited to get a chance to have this conversation with you. And so a little bit about me, well, I'm in Arizona, so I'm in the United States, and this has also been so much fun because I've been getting to be connected with people all over the world and finding out just how similar we all are, even though we're different. Doesn't matter what side of the planet you're on. I mean, we're just humans, and like coming together has been pretty amazing. So I'm in Arizona, and I work in the behavioral science field. I'm a behavioral superpowers coach and a speaker, a trainer. A mentor. I teach at a college, and I have a Rottweiler named Stella. I play the bass guitar. There's lots to me, but I just love meeting people, having conversations. My behavioral superpower is an outgoing, fast-paced influencer. And without knowing anything about what that means, you can probably get a sense of the kind of person I am just from that. So just a little bit about myself, and happy to be here and have this conversation with you.
I love hypers because I'm a hyper too, and whenever I talk to you, it's like, whoa.
I know.
Yeah,
let's go.
Amazing, and I like the Rottweiler part and the guitar. I see it in the background. I'm still waiting for you to play.
I know you're still waiting.
Hope you will do it at the closing ceremony, just like popping up and playing us a little bit. Maybe. So let's get to this topic because we have around 20 minutes together here before we join the workshop room with Falguni Katira. So tell us a little bit more about the basics. I like the context first. So what is behavior matters? What is behind it? Why do you think it's important for people to explore the behavior universe?
Yes. So there's a quote by a woman named Veronica Tagleva, and I always like to start with this. And her quote is, "To know yourself, you must first sacrifice the illusion that you already do." And what I found is that in the space of personal development and growth and personal awareness and professional development and all the things that we want to do to become better humans, because that's usually what it's about. It's like we want to grow, develop, and change in ways that improve our lives and hopefully improve the lives of others. Generally, right? That's what we want to do. Not everybody feels that way, but the ones who do feel that way, there comes a point in that journey where they have to figure out, well, who am I growing into, or what am I growing maybe away from, or what am I developing? If I'm doing self-reflection, what am I reflecting on, right? So there's all these questions, and a lot of people talk about personal growth and development, and everyone usually starts with, you need to know yourself. You need to understand yourself. You need to know what your unique gifts, skills, talents, and abilities are. You need to understand what your purpose is. That's always the starting point. Everybody says that's what the starting point is, but very few people can tell you how to do that. Everyone agrees you should do it, but no one can really tell you how. They can give you ideas, examples like, well, you should journal about it, or maybe you should meditate on it, or maybe you should read my book or take my course or something like that. But either way, they still can't give you that internal piece that you need in order to really identify what's going on inside of you. So that's what we do. We do that with that assessment tool that you took, that exercise. That's exactly what happened in the process of you answering those questions. It's designed to get to the core of who you are, not who you aspire to be, but who you already are, not who you will change into, but who you already are. So with that, you can take a look at that data and go, oh, okay, this is not only who I am, but why I am. And with that comes true self-awareness at such a deep level that now you can make changes, attempt to make changes, because it's hard to change who you are. So, but now you can tweak it and work on certain areas of personal growth and development based on this baseline that you've created. So we know that 87% of performance issues in life and business are due to behavior. So that's why it's important to understand your behavior, because 87% of the issues you're probably having are due to your own behavior. So that's why we want to make sure we help people understand that. And then we can go whichever direction we want to go. So that's why it matters so much, is because 87% of the issues that you're having in life and business is because of your own behavioral style.
That's so interesting. And I was, when I was doing this session, I mean the survey, I filled out your survey. It was really interesting because I had 5 years of self-exploration behind me. So I have to say that I already was very clear with what I do and where I am. But it's just very interesting the way how you put together, or your team put together this questionnaire, because it's really hard to choose from the option, the way how you formulate the question, and then less and more and most, this part of this kind of questions are really hard to decide. It was many times when I get to the point, it was like, all of them are really, really close to the truth. Which one should I choose? And then you have to like put the order in your survey together, and it's an interesting experience, right?
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because well, let me ask you a question. When you were doing that, when you had to make those choices, did you find yourself at any point feeling a little frustrated or a little anxious or just uncomfortable, or any kind of feelings that you felt like, man, I don't like how I have to do this, but I still have to do it? Did you feel
I felt like I want one more dot at least. Like,
you're like, give me one
but
more.
At least two.
Right. So what happens is that's actually intentional. So the process that we use is called a forced choice triad. And when you answer those questions, like you mentioned, you're given 3 options that could describe yourself, and you have to choose your most and your least, which means you have to leave one of them out. Okay. And if you find that you feel like you're all of those things, it's difficult to rank them. If you feel like you're none of those things, it's frustrating that you have to choose. And if you have to leave one out, you may feel like, well, I don't want to leave that one out because I'm a little bit of that too, right? So what comes down to it is you typically start overthinking it at that point and trying to figure out, well, what is the right answer, quote unquote? Well, there is no right answer, but human nature wants us to be correct in some kind of way. And we are curious about what the results will show based on what we said. So then we have that in our minds, right? Well, all of that leads to a certain level of, most times for people, some sort of anxiety. I've heard all kinds of things: anxiety, frustration, anger. People have all kinds of emotions about this process, right? And when they're done, you know what? You just have to click the button. You just have to choose. So in that moment, how you choose is usually based on your instinct. You just decided to trust your gut and choose what you felt was the right answer. And oftentimes, Andrea, we find that what you chose after you overthought it was the answer that you initially thought it should have been before you started overthinking it. And so that's the gut, that's the instinct, right? So I say all that to say is that process of answering the questions is how, after 30 years of research, and this tool is validated scientifically in 125 countries, and it's in 11 different languages. So we know that it's got validity to it. But that process gives us a 91% predictability over the long term That is your behavior, and that is how you're going to show up. 91% predictable over the long term, because we cause a certain amount of your emotions to be heightened at a level that who you truly are is who comes out when you answer the question. And that's exactly what happens in real life. If you're frustrated, anxiety, or having anxious, fearful, really excited or happy, who you are is who shows up every time. And that's what we measure. Who you are
Yeah.
when you're under those emotional agitations.
Yeah, I love the psychology behind. Like, I'm all about people, and I love to understand what's the human behavior, what's the values, what the beliefs,
Mhm.
how is it formed, what are the conditionings,
Yep.
how the people are really deciding about their lives. Why are some people really motivated? Some people are really like laid back. So it's really an interesting thing that you're bringing here. I will ask you to put the link into the private chat in this StreamYard, because I would like to share it. I have a challenge for the people watching us now or tomorrow or anytime, because Kenyatta is coming back with a workshop this week. So if you have a time, please take this survey, and then when you show up at the workshop, then you can ask questions to Kenyatta directly. So please make sure that you do that. So Kenyatta, if you have a little time to put the link into the
I will.
private
I'll
chat.
try to put that in there.
Yes, just our
Maybe.
private chat that no one is seeing. And in the meantime, I
Yes.
will see, guys, just look into the calendar on the
Mhm.
website, and then you will see the workshop with Kenyatta there.
And you know what I'll do? I'll do something a little bit different. I'm gonna put a link in there, but this link is going to be to something that will eventually guide you to that. But I'll put it in the chat. But this is a link to a behavioral self-awareness and personal development checklist that I have. And
Okay.
this checklist is going to then and I'll know who comes in with that. And then I can send them the special link to actually take the exercise. We'll do it
Perfect,
that way.
perfect.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
okay. It's
Let me
okay.
drop
Of
that in here.
course.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I will just say hi to Tim. Hi, Tim. So happy to have you. It's Tim Zone will come and have an interview. We just fixed it this week, so he's a newcomer in the speakers list.
Oh,
it's
excellent.
never ending story, right? Everyone wants to be
Yes.
on board. So welcome, Tim. Thank you
Yes.
very much for showing up, and we have this discussion very very soon. And Simfong is saying
Absolutely.
Nostradamus.
And hello, everyone who's watching. This has been fun. Nostradamus. Ooh, scary. I put that in the private chat. Did you see it in there?
Yes, I see. I
Okay,
will
I just
just
want to make
share
sure
it.
it's there.
All right,
And
guys. So
I just shared
that's
this on
how
my
it
page too.
is. We are sharing this here with you. So please, until the session when Kenyatta is coming up, I will promote it today, tomorrow, and
Absolutely.
after that. And then please just try to check the checklist. And when you come to the workshop, you already have something that you can ask from Kenyatta. You are already relating to
Absolutely.
the project. So Kenyatta, let's go further a little bit on the behaviors and how it can help you in your life, like
Mhm.
practically, because I love
Yes.
practicality. So how you can implement these things, like, okay, I knew that I'm a community builder.
Okay.
Look, we are building a community, a global empowerment
Right?
hub, and I'm doing it. So it was exactly the thing that was supposed to come out. But
Right.
how can I, like, let's take my example.
Yeah.
Let's say that I haven't done community building yet,
Yep.
and it came out I'm a community builder. So
Okay.
what's next? How can I use this information?
Absolutely. So what I did is I'm looking at your profile right now. So if you don't mind, I'm going to speak to a couple of things that I see on your profile. Okay. We'll do kind of a
Yes.
little mini uncovering with you. We call it an uncovering. You've already taken the exercise. We call that discover. And then uncover is when you have a conversation with someone like me to help you kind of walk through it. And then unleash is when you start using your superpowers. You unleash them upon the world. Okay. So that is the key. And so I'm looking at your profile right now, and you're a community builder, right? They love meeting people, promoting cooperation amongst groups of people. Their natural inclination is to help and support others, carry out an activity or transaction. Magically, you are both attentive to people and tasks, and you have an uncanny way of influencing people through empathy and supportiveness. Okay. That is what all community builders do. They all kind of roll that same way. And they're diligent about cooperation and collaboration, and you want supportive relationships. Now, here's something interesting about your report. Your top 2 traits out of there's 8 different factors, and my workshop is going to break down all 8 factors. But your top 2 factors, I just lost it. Here it is, are cooperative and trusting. Okay. So that we consider are your superpowers. Being cooperative, being flexible and approach, someone who fits in well, you can show up anywhere. You're going to bring everyone together, love everyone, hug on everyone. And you don't always have to be the person in charge. That's not your priority. You would rather be supportive and cooperate and help bring people together to get the thing done. However, we always say that your behavioral superpowers overplayed can become a struggle, and a struggle unmanaged can become a weakness. So while you are extremely cooperative and extremely trusting, that is your power. We need people like you everywhere, right? But when you find yourself in a situation where you may need to be more take charge, that might be a struggle for you because you're not wired to do that. It doesn't mean you can't or won't. It just means that's not your normal operation, right? So you have to then do what we call flexing to become more take charge in a moment when you need to be. And on the flip side of that, people who are really take charge, sometimes they have to learn to step back and let someone else step forward, right? So that's how we use that in a framework of how is this applicable? Well, applicable is right now understanding that at a very high level, that is your superpower, but it can hurt you in the wrong situation. Okay. The next one is trusting, right? Receptive, believing, and forgiving. Everyone should have some level of trust, but you probably have already learned in your own. I don't even hardly know you, but I know that based on this report, there's been times in your life when you probably can look back and go, I was probably too trusting in that situation. And I don't even know you, but I know your results. So I know that has to have happened to you, right? At some time. So while it's important to trust, what I tell people is that especially if they have a high, like that's your second highest score, I say, look, I'm not telling you not to trust people. I'm not telling you not to trust your instincts when it comes to that. But in order to not let that trusting piece become a weakness, you may want to learn to, or try to practice asking more questions, being more skeptical, not always just, believing what someone says, but instead inspect what you expect every once in a while. Right. And so that would be just a coaching moment, because again, that's your power, but overplayed, it can become a weakness. Right. So we just want people to be aware of how much they are these things. And then the last couple things is, when we take a look at the report, if you were to take this, you would get the same information when you have really high scores in certain areas. And you probably saw your report and you didn't even know what it meant, but you saw there were some high numbers there. Well, when we have high scores in these areas we call radio buttons, where we're measuring contrasting work talents like results versus relationship, or daring versus careful, abstract versus concrete, systematic versus flexible, and promoting versus operating, the higher the score, the higher the intensity, Andrea. Meaning the harder it is for you to swing to the other side, right? Now, my report, there's no score less than 82. And we're talking out of 100. So 82 is pretty high. Well, you've got some 84s and some 93s, which mean that simply those are areas where there isn't a lot of balance going on. Now, imagine a world where everyone was balanced, okay? Let's say all of their scores on these things I just mentioned were balanced. Well, people would get along just fine. There would not be any arguing. There'd be no fighting. There probably wouldn't even be any war, because everyone would be able to understand where the other person was coming from. Everyone would be more accepting of the different personalities and different styles that people have. And people would be able to flex their behavior to meet other people where they're at. But with the high scores, it ultimately means that 2/3 of the world is different than you. And that's not a bad thing, but that means that with differences come miscommunication, confusion, all kinds of emotions come when people are different, if they don't make a conscious effort to learn to work together, right? So you have a very high score on relationship versus results. You're a 93 on relationships, which means you are extremely patient when you're building relationships with others. You're a community builder. That doesn't surprise me. Like, that's something that's important to you and how you're wired. Everyone needs to have someone around them that has a high relationship score. They're going to make sure everyone is okay, right? They're going to love on everyone. And just my first couple of interactions with you, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so amazing. Like, so kind and sweet and caring and loving and considerate of people. That is your natural way. Now, I'm a 93 on results, which is the opposite of you. Now, that may appear that I don't build relationships, just like it may appear that you don't get results, but we both know that's not true. What this means is how we go about doing it, right? How I go about getting a job done is going to be very different than how you might go about it. right? Your initial function is going to be who's there and who needs to be taken care of in order to make this happen. My initial thought is going to be, well, what are the facts and the figures and the data and who's going to be there that can make it happen, right? And then facilitate that. So we're just going to approach it different ways. So while you are high on relationships and patiently build them, my coaching moment would be, with a score that high, is to beware of what you also have to beware with the trusting factor, is setting boundaries. And that's typically what people who have high relationship scores struggle with. And I don't know that that's you or not, but I can just look at the number and go, that's a possibility, right? And my self-coaching would be, with a high score on results, is that, yeah, Kenyatta, you're going to get the job done, but is everyone taken care of in that process? You know, have you reached out to the people you need to reach out with? Are you having that moment where you're taking the time to build a relationship? Now, here's what I'll say for both of us. Knowing the number where it is, that's just our baseline. It doesn't mean that in certain situations we can't move the needle, but that's about all we'd be able to do, is move the needle. We won't jump to the other side because we're wired this way. So how is it practical to people who learn this information? It's understanding that baseline and not being apologetic for it. I call it being unapologetically and behaviorally you, to go, this is me, this is how I'm wired 91% of the time. But let me sit back and look at that and go, okay, what do I do in a moment where I feel like my power could be overplayed? Am I aware and conscious of it? And then the next thing I want to know is, how can I use this to help me with what I'm trying to accomplish in life? If you know you're a relationship builder or who's relationship focused and community builder, then put yourself in situations where you can walk in that glory. You know, that's what we want to teach people, is like, own who you are, unleash it upon the world, but don't let it derail you. Don't be like the Hulk who can't turn into Bruce Banner when he needs to, right? That's a problem, right? But then he finally learned how to be Bruce Banner and the Hulk at the same time. I consider that unleashing his behavioral superpowers, because he was always going to be the Hulk. He couldn't stop it. But when he learned to turn it on and turn it off when he needed to, that's true power. So that's what we teach people to do. That's how we teach them. That's how we teach leaders. You need to know yourself. You got to first know yourself. And then you look at everyone else in the world and you realize, wow, these differences that people have with me, let me figure out how to navigate those and how to help them unleash their powers too. I don't want to oppress them or try to tell them they can or shouldn't or won't. It's like, no, let's honor each other for the differences that we have, because we have more similarities than differences, quite honestly. So that's a long answer.
I'm all in with you, Kenyatta. All in. Diversity is something that I love and I support. So everything what you said is just amazing. If the people would like to know more, then we have a workshop on Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Singapore time. Yep. So please tune in. This is a workshop, live workshop, so you can have access to Kenyatta. You can ask questions. You can be in the same Zoom room and you can experience these different treats, and she will explain about them more. For now, we have to finish because Falguni is already waiting for me. I would love to listen to you more, though. But
I can't believe the time already went by that fast.
It's always going fast in good company. You know, that's always like this, Kenyatta. So let's do that. And for those who are watching us live now or on replay, please check out the link in the comments. Make that little checklist, use it. And when you come in the workshop on Saturday, for everyone who is in Singapore time or close to it, even from Australia, you can join in. Or I think it will be your Friday evening if you are in the US.
My Friday evening.
Yes, with Kenyatta from the US. So just join in, take the most out of the workshop, and you will learn a little bit more. Thank you very much, Kenyatta, for tuning in, and see you very, very soon.
Thank you, everyone. Yes, click the link. I'll see you guys on Friday or Saturday, whatever it is, wherever you are.
Wherever you are in the world. Thank you, guys.
Andrea. Take care.
Bye-bye.